Caleb Maupin's Lego-ass hairline. I have a friend with this exact hair. He's Italian, though. It sort of makes sense. It looks good on him, especially when he grows it out. I don't think Caleb Maupin has a haircut that looks... That's unfortunate. I don't think Caleb Maupin has an aesthetic that would work for him. To be fair, it's the goatee is flavoring a lot of my opinion. I am not body-shaming Caleb Maupin. This is a decision. These are decisions we can make. Okay? You can choose this. Okay? That is not body-shaming. If you don't like how my beard is, okay, fine. If you don't like that I have like a belly, then, well... Thin ice, bud. Anyway, this is Caleb Maupin. You can tell he's Caleb Maupin because he looks the way he does. So, Caleb Maupin, and this is going to be a little bright. He chose a patchy goatee, and we shouldn't ignore it. I mean, there's lots of ways to go about your facial hair. That's all I'll say. I mean, and there are choices we can make that aren't the one that he did. You know? I don't think when you choose... It takes such a specific fucking guy. Like, if you have a goatee, you gotta be a goatee guy. You can't be a guy with a goatee. You feel me? You gotta be a goatee guy. You cannot... This can't be an accessory. It's gotta be the focus. Otherwise, it's doomed from the beginning. It's not in. It doesn't make sense. Similar... Think about it like this. Treat a goatee the same way you would treat a fancy mustache, and you're good. You know, when you got a mustache, you're a mustache guy. Now that's the vibe. You get it. You got to be a goatee guy. And I think goatee guys can only really be too cool for us to give a shit they have a goatee, or kind of like badasses. You know what I mean? Like really fit, like Jimmy Butler. You guys know who Jimmy Butler is. Jimmy Butler, dude. Jimmy Butler looks good with a goatee. Guy from a million memes. He looks like a badass. And he is a badass. He's a very good athlete. You don't have to care about sports to have seen a million Jimmy Butler memes because he's very expressive. You know what I mean? He looks good with a goatee. Caleb Maupin, no. Tony Stark, decent. So anyway, Caleb Bart, Mall Cop. Former Comrades speak out as abuse myself. So this is from CPI. Apparently, and there's a whole thing here. You can go look at this. There's a post. I retweeted it on my Twitter if you want to go look at the twit. If you'd like to twit or twat, we could do that together. At Actual Corn. I don't know why I'm shilling for myself now. Did you know Caleb Maupin's an abuser? By the way, you want to follow me on Twitter? Both valuable pieces of information you should have to keep you safe, chat. So this is the contents. We don't really have to read through that. I don't know how much we're going to read of this. We'll probably get it at a certain point, but I just want to go over some major points. And then, for those of you who have read it, if I have skipped over anything that we absolutely must look at, we'll go do that. But summary of information for the reader. And just before we get into it, I did skim it a little bit to see what the content in this was. What we are facing here is allegations of like sexual misconduct.
I'm struggling.
Seems more like sleazeball stuff rather than like anything violent, at least from what I skimmed. Could be wrong. But you know, we're going to be talking about Caleb Maupin's kinks. So if you are into these ideals, not coercive, I would say, at least from what I saw. Screw Bucket, thanks for the 17 months. Oh, Globbits, thanks for the follow as well. Oh, Globbits. That's what I imagine like a plucky goblin NPC would say. Oh, Globbits, but it's pretty bad. I'll show you. I mean, we're going to go over the story right now, but this is just what I've skimmed, so I've definitely missed some parts. But yeah, it's not looking good for old Mop. Petition nicknamed Caleb's the Spanky Tanky. Close to kink shaming, we'll consider it. Huge trigger warning. Yeah, there's lots of stuff. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. Like content warning. Mop is gonna get. We're gonna see his sexual predilections and his text and things like that. I don't know if we see his dick at any point. So if I'm about to scroll over Mop dick, let me know. I'll look at it and just save you guys the view. So anyway, summary and information for the reader. I'll get closer to this so you guys can see it a little bit better on your screens if you're watching. Nothing wrong with enjoying a spank, it just rhymes. Yeah, I agree. Bringing forward this statement was not easy for any of us, but there was no alternative to speaking the truth. It's our responsibility to stop abuse of power against comrades. By the way, it's important to note that all the people involved are involved in CPI, which is the Center of Political Innovation that Maupin works at. And they are all Nazbols. They are all... I mean, they're fascists, but it's no one deserves to be abused, but it is what it is. Both can be true. Please don't be my kinks. Sorry, bottoms. Spoilers. Sorry, bottoms. Some of your kinks might be in this. Those of us who want to fight for the ideas of constructive, optimistic socialism and anti-imperialism, and who have contributed to the organized center of political innovation, have been betrayed by Caleb Maupin. Over the years, he has subjected members of CPI to various forms of abuse and exploitation. He pushed his sexual desires on members who had considered him to be a leading comrade. He brought his sexual impulses into political organizing. By the way, this is why you should just be anarcho commies. I find that in those spaces, people are much more chill about the sex thing, and you will learn ways to engage in behavior sexually, Caleb, that is both consensual and fun. Worth a shot. Consent is worth a shot. Just saying. Hot take. Caleb pushed a member out of CPI and its predecessor, Students and Youth for a New America. Can you... God, such propaganda-y fucking names for stuff. Pushed a member out after she made clear that she would not do sexual favors for him. Caleb paid a member for sex he knew was economically desperate and then went on to push them out of the group and slander them. Caleb Maupin has also targeted people in their teens with manipulative cult tactics in an effort to exploit their labor so that he can build himself up off their hard work and sacrifice, and then would go on to slander them behind their backs if they didn't do exactly what he wanted. The abuses Caleb Maupin committed could also have done tremendous damage to all of us by discrediting all who associate with our political position. I mean, cavorting with Caleb Maupin in the first place maybe was already doing that. But yes, I agree. It doesn't help. Despite these revelations, now is not a time to despair. It's a time to fight even harder for an optimistic socialism and anti-imperialism. It's a difficult reality for many to face, but Caleb Maupin's primary concern has not been advancing the cause of anti-imperialism. His primary concern has been self-gain at the expense of others. Oh my God, Caleb Maupin's not a serious person? Surprise. Bree, thanks so much for this, the 37 months. However, our goal is not to make an overly simplified picture of Caleb Maupin or to demonize him unjustly. Our statements give credit where it's due, but at the same time, they demonstrate his abusive behavior very clearly. This following statement from the CPI members will show in detail all of this stuff. And then here's a media thing. Caleb Maupin's sexual misconduct. Member 2's statement. Well, actually, nah. If you want to look at it, you can look at the faces of these people. I guess I'm not going to show it. It doesn't matter. I was going to give you context, but you don't fucking need their faces for that. When I first met Caleb, I was 19 years old, living on my own for my first time, and paying my rent with my own paychecks while going to school full time. By the way, Caleb, I know how it feels to have a manifesto written about you. The trick about having manifestos written about you is for them not to be true because you didn't do any of the bad stuff that they said. That's the trick. Don't actually be guilty in reality. Not deny guilt. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying don't actually have done the things that they're saying. Or you're fucked. I was in a very vulnerable place socially and financially at the time, though. I considered myself to be more mature than my peers because of how independent I was compared to my other political science classmates because I was one of the only communists. When I met him, a prominent YouTuber and accomplished journalist over a decade older than me who treated me like his intellectual equal and made me feel intelligent and important. Oh boy, groom. Especially since he would frequently take me out to dinner where we would discuss our political ambitions and the think tank he wanted me to help him build, the Center for Political Innovation. Beginning in 2019, we would have dinner together at least once a month, and sometimes during those dinners he would bring up what I assumed at the time was his academic interest in corporal punishment, especially spanking. As time went on, he became closer and closer. He's like a foot guy that just brings up feet in the middle. So, feet, huh? But he just brings up spanking in conversation. Can you imagine talking to Caleb Maupin, and he's just like, and by the way, how do you feel about corporal punishment? And like, spanking is a kink. Spanking is his kink. As time went on, we became closer and closer friends, which led him to confiding in me during 2020, during the COVID pandemic. Ooh, down bad in the COVID pandemic. Rough. That his academic special interest was, in fact, a sexual one. He even told me that he would engage other people in conversations about corporal punishment and spanking because it turned him on to do so, involving other people in your kinks. Nice. When we became closer friends in 2021, he finally admitted to me that he would masturbate to the thought of roping unsuspecting people, especially women, into these conversations about their experiences with being spanked and other forms of physical abuse. So you see what I'm talking about? Like, this is creepy shit, dude. I really don't like people being roped into your sexual conversation that they don't know is sexual so that you can masturbate to it. Creeper behavior. I tend to be very open and sexually liberal person, so I don't really mind when my friends discuss their sex lives with me in a platonic way. As a matter of fact, I was honored that Caleb supposedly trusted me enough that he was willing to share that part of his life with me. Did you consider the implication? Okay.
It's
like, I'm also like, I'll listen to anyone talk about what they like, their sexual stuff. A random topic. Thanks, Paul. But if your sexual topic is like, oh, by the way, you're kind of a creep, I'm gonna say that you're a creep. However, I was still under the impression that he was interested in me as a platonic friend and comrade, nothing else, which is why I continued to participate in CPI's conferences and events, including facilitating CPI's California conference for him in September 2021, which entailed Caleb and I traveling together and sharing a hotel room and transportation. Back then, I was working for a math tutoring company. Caleb knew that his job was incredibly important to me and that I needed the income to pay off my student loans and other financial expenses. I only agreed to go to California with Caleb under the condition that I would be able to work on the Monday we left, because I had already been assigned a shift that day. When I first asked him, he told me that that wouldn't be an issue because the conference was from Friday to Sunday, so that Monday I could work after we checked out of the hotel. Nonetheless, when Monday rolled around, Caleb insisted that he wanted to have lunch at a Mexican restaurant before we left and refused to let me get a separate Uber to go to the airport early to work. Since I couldn't complete my shift in the restaurant, I ended up missing it and losing my job as a result. Even though I told him this is exactly what would happen and explained to him many reasons why I couldn't afford to lose my job when I did get fired, Caleb insisted that I will be okay and that we, himself and CPI, will not abandon you. Little did I know, when Caleb reassured me he'd find another job, he didn't necessarily mean another tutoring gig. Peter Coffin versus Caleb Maupin in like a fight? Maupin. Yeah. It's Master Chef, not Master Bait. Anyway, here's the receipts. Remember on Monday when I said that missing the shift might cost me my job? That was unfortunately correct. I will call you when I get home tonight. Okay, I'm really sorry, Caleb. We'll do my best to find another job. While you apologize, you're doing your best. You're safe. You can see this. How will your dad's credit be affected? Some information about that. We should talk to him soon. Blah, blah, blah. You're right. Okay. Okay, we don't really need to read every single there. There's not that much juice. The main conflict between Caleb and I that arose after I lost my job was this. I'd started living in Jersey City when the John Brown volunteers in August 2021, so I had been paying $200 a week rent to Caleb to cover my portion of the $600 a week hotel cost. Before I moved in, Caleb had been paying the exact same hotel rate for only Joey and Keaton to live there, but he told me I had to... Ew, this cat. Ew. Ellie just rubbed me and she's fucking wet, bro. What the fuck? Ugh. You ever had a wet cat rub the back of your knee? Ugh. God, gross. Get out of here. Why are you wet, bro? I don't even understand. You don't go anywhere. It's just water. It doesn't smell like... I had to check and see if it smelled like cat butt, but it doesn't. It's just water. Did you just fucking put your tail in the water bowl and not notice because you're fat and lazy? Jesus Christ, Ellie. Anyway, so they're worried about stuff like this. Anyway, look at this. Member 2 person still talking. We should talk later, but basically, it all gets down to this. You are in a situation where you know your housing and food will be taken care of. You will not be left out to dry, trying to make this person move in with them, I think. Right? Desperately another sort of thing. Caleb expect me to spend even more time canvassing. A dutiful member of the group. The day after I lost my job at the math tutoring company, I told Caleb I wanted to try to at least find another part-time work. However, his reaction is to suggest that it made it very clear he didn't ever see it as an option. He wanted me to devote more time here. However, you have some rather unrealistic expectations about other stuff you insist is absolutely need. Your life is your life. Your decisions are your decisions. Wow, this is like... guy who texts you a fucking... story like this. What a you without knowing anything about Caleb Maupin, you knew that he would fucking send this kind of text with a fucking Bible verse at the end. But you need to figure out how dedicated you are to communism, and if you are ready to leave your old life behind or not. You have one foot in living biologically and one foot in the revolution, and that's a very hard way to live. Oh, what a manipulator, dude. I can help you and be your friend, but I cannot solve all your problems. I cannot make hard choices for you. And here's a fucking Jesus quote. Bringing the jacket. See you at Wendy's at 1 p.m. Bringing the jacket. See you at Wendy's. Spent a long time thinking about you last night. Ooh, I know these are very hard times for you. By the way, casually bring up spanking. I pray for you. They reply, I do understand what you're saying, although with all due respect, I think there are certain issues you had the privilege of not having to deal with, and those pressures are something I'm more than happy to take care of on my own. The reality of it is that I just can't abandon my family. I don't have the privilege of doing that because I've been in their rock for my entire life, blah, blah, blah. No, I can't do that. We'll talk later. Therefore, I ended up doing sex work so I could make up enough to support our household and pay off my debts while still having time to canvass full-time. For Maupin. I distinctly remember telling Caleb that it seemed like sex work was my only way out of this delicate financial situation. His response was simply that he respects my decision. In retrospect, it seems like the real reason he didn't mind me doing sex work was while I was living there is because he probably wanted to become one of my clients. For what it's worth, after I left the JBV house, he eventually did become a client of mine. Caleb kicked me out of the John Brown Volunteers after I relapsed on heroin in late October. At that point, I took some time away from the organization, only attending a few smaller events and stayed at my fiance's apartment to focus on my recovery and getting clean again. Well, by the time I had started my own math tutoring business and had my own students, I was still doing sex work as a side hustle to supplement my income because I didn't have enough students to cover the revenue I'd lost once I stopped canvassing entirely to pay for my own utilities again. In December 2021, Caleb asked me to replace his former dominatrix, Miss Lucy. I agreed to do so for $250 per session. Can I know there's a higher premium on the ladies doing it. Can I charge this? I mean, I'm not a dominatrix. But can I charge $25? Because I did need the money, and it felt like if I said no, I'd be even more isolated from the rest of the CPI than I already was as a result of my relapse. By that time, in mid-December, I was clean again, which Caleb insisted upon in order for us to see each other, yet he was still apparently lying to the rest of CPI that I continued to be in the midst of my drug addiction. He did this while saying to my face that he didn't want me going to CPI events or his birthday party so I didn't run into his wife, Metches, because he thought it would make things awkward. I later learned from other CPI members that this was a common tactic of his, isolating someone from the group through rumors and hearsay in order to make sure I didn't interact with other CPI members in case I decided to tell them about our arrangement. Truth be told, I was terribly afraid of anyone else in the organization finding out I was doing this with him. I was afraid if I told anyone, they wouldn't believe me, and if he told someone, I'd be shunned and ostracized. I saw Caleb as his dominant a few times in December 2021. He essentially paid me to reenact his childhood corporal punishment as a fatherly figure to discipline him. Included in this arrangement was the understanding that he'd also compensate me for several hours he spent sexting me about his kink when we weren't seeing each other in person. He texted me so often I eventually had to ask him to stop because I kept getting notifications from his sexually explicit messages while I was teaching my students. However, he only paid me for our in-person meetings and never even mentioned billing for my texting labor, again, despite that first agreement, some commie. After a couple of months of constant communication and a few punishment sessions, he abruptly stopped speaking to me, acting as if I suddenly didn't exist. I was very confused and hurt by this because I truly thought that by agreeing to do sex work for him, I had won his good graces so we could continue to be friends. I knew he didn't want me in the group afterwards, but I thought at the time that at least he appreciated my contributions thus far and respected me as a person. What we are about to read are Caleb Maupin sexts. It's happening. I'm going to go here so I can zoom in a little bit. Caleb Maupin, other person. Think you can hold me accountable for my feelings about that book? Absolutely. We'll moderate your detention assignment. You have to write, I must accept my punishment. I need your discipline to grow and be safe. 100 times. That is what you are going to say to me when I ask, why are you being punished, Caleb? Why is there a comma there? Takes me right out of it. If you get the answer wrong, then you clearly haven't learned that lesson, and you'll be punished even more. Thank you. Can you remind me why the boatmaster needed to spank the last duck every day? What? The boatmaster needs to spank the last duck? We're getting very specific kinks, like ritualistic stuff. Fascinating. What a fascinating look. To keep him from getting lost and hurting himself. The one time he decides to avoid his punishment, he is isolated from his family and almost killed. If the boatmaster doesn't spank the duck will be like a sailboat without a rudder, directionless, alone, and with nowhere to go. Loved to keep him from getting lost and hurting himself. Loved this part. The boatmaster was keeping the ducks safe, encouraging them to hurry back. That hard spank with the stick was given in love. I'm so sorry for questioning it. Mommy, I know I need to get punished. You must be very disappointed in me. Sad emoji. He doesn't even use, he has the, okay, Caleb Maupin putting a period at the end and then using, like making an emoticon out of a colon and a parentheses is the absolute most Caleb Maupin sexts that exists. Like you can't get a more Caleb Maupin sext at the end. You know what I mean? Insane stuff. Absolute fucking insane way to text somebody. Moon Griffin, thanks for the 22 months. If you were my teacher, would I get sent to the paddle for this? Yes, you would. Not because I'm angry with you, but because, like Ping, you still haven't learned why you need an authority to guide you with a firm hand. You are smart enough to understand these things, so I have very high expectations of you. Those expectations help you become better, and my discipline helps you meet those expectations. Understood? Dude, this is like so interesting to me as someone who engages in a bit of this content from time to time on the other side, on this side of it. This is like the concepts are what makes stuff hot, But the way that both of these people communicate at Nazbols is just like so fucking clinical. It's insane. Yes, I would like it if you slapped me in the face. No, they wouldn't even say that. I would like it if your phallus impacted my face. I need to get a spanking for my little attitude problem. You should probably double the lines I need to write. You'll be getting double the spankings instead. I'm a proponent of learning while doing. Maybe if you experience Ping's punishment for yourself, you'll lose your attitude. Is it going to hurt to sit down after? Classic bottom text. Classic. Caleb Maupin's a good boy, chat. Yes, it will, but you still have to sit up straight and deal with the pain. Remember the pain every time you think of questioning my authority. If I see you slouching or changing your posture because you're in pain after I spank you, you'll just get paddled instead. Disrespecting that book is kind of like disrespecting you. I must respect authority and discipline. Babs first RP. Good posture is essential to good health and productivity. Exactly. Disrespecting any form of authority and discipline is disrespecting me, and I am not forgiving or kind when I am disrespected. No wonder they're fucking fascists, dude. They love this shit. They're all about it. My dad should have put me over his knee more often, taught me not to have this disrespectful attitude. You should spank me really hard. Am I going to have to eat soap? Loved? This is such a weird facet of personality. Anyway, that's some Caleb Maupin sex for you. That's what we just read here. Unfortunately, I was wrong. The reason he stopped speaking to me was because apparently another group member came forward with her own allegations against him, and he assumed that I was the one who'd leaked it, even though he'd already told other CP. I keep seeing this as CP instead of CPI. Even though he'd already told other CPI members that I was a drug addict who couldn't participate in group events before this, after the other member came forward. I just minus that. Thanks for the 49 months. He began telling people I was dangerous and two-faced so that no one would believe the allegations. Of course, from my perspective, I had done everything he'd asked me to do and kept our secret to protect myself. So when he ghosted me suddenly in the middle of January, I felt completely betrayed. She's rather two-faced. We have flirt texted many times, always consensual. Flirt texted. We have flirt texted. Ah, yes. Copulation. Speaking of various ways of copulation. Isn't she part of CPI now? As far as I know, she never told me there was any problem. I'm going to pretend this never happened and cut her off. Strange. It is strange. We flirt texted on Wednesday, and it was a lot more than verbal abuse. This is dumb shit. Damn, dude. Nonetheless, I still publicly supported Caleb and CPI. Cringe! To this day, I haven't said a single disparaging thing about Caleb in public. To the contrary, throughout these past few years. Okay, so I'm nice to Caleb. Please don't kick me out of your Nazbol group. Anyway, remember one statement. I originally intended to keep this information for the rest of my life. I would like to ensure that my rights to privacy is respected, knowing blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah. Whoa. I guess we have to read this. Not really. There's a lot of stuff. Skycom, thanks for the 50 days! Well, I'm going to be honest, being dominated in teacher-student roleplay is kind of my thing, but this particular one is just lame. I feel nothing except bored. I know, right? Caleb Maupin. Hit my bottom until it's red and bruised doesn't arouse you, so you won't do it with passion. He was mad. Something clicked in my head when he wrote a message that he will get in touch with his old roommate about the social media coach idea. What? So, between February 2019 and April 2019, Caleb began mentioning the idea of a social media coach. Caleb started to increase how often he would bring up the social media coach idea. He wanted to find a woman who would text him throughout the week to check in on him and make sure to shame and admonish him if he wasn't reaching his goals in growing his following online. Good fucking Lord. That is the saddest fucking thing. Social media just kill me. Then the social media, I work here, and Jesus fucking Christ, dude, cringe. Then the social media coach would meet up with him and spank his rear end at the end of the week, which he would pay for. I kept once again trying to do deflecting measures, like I would tell him to check out an app called Seeking Arrangements, where he can create a profile and find someone to charter up this sexual financial agreement with. I wasn't exactly uncomfortable yet because I knew I could always reject any advance. But it was also honestly starting to get annoying, and if he wanted to fix so bad, he needed to just go somewhere and find it and stop talking to me about it all the time, considering the fact that I was, again, a member of SINA, and therefore, first and foremost, a comrade/activist, not his dominatrix. Again, Caleb was simultaneously telling me I was such a kind and special friend and such a hardworking SINA member. I felt empathy for how he said he felt like an outcast growing up, how I'm finally a great friend that he has and he trusts, and also how disappointed he is in other SINA members compared to myself. I'm not surprised that Caleb Maupin doesn't have friends. I was worried if I told him to stop talking about his sexual fantasies and needing prostitutes, I wouldn't be able to be in SINA anymore or have a working friendship with him anymore. Caleb Maupin. Right, and I know there are things, too, like financial domination stuff, but yeah, I'm not passionate about it, so in the end, I feel like it would be wasting their time and money, and I would go through a lot of effort for something that makes me feel gross, because I had to imagine most clients are not young or attractive. My old roommate, she seemed interested in some of this. I'm going to casually bring up the social media discipline thing when I see her next week. Not directly ask her, but just casually bring it up, see how she reacts. It's so weird that he openly is plotting this stuff. Ah, yes. I'm not going to actually ask. I'm just going to casually drop my kinks. Maybe just have an open, consensual discussion and be okay with the idea that someone might not be into it. What a strange fucking concept. Someone might not want to do my fucking sex stuff. Well, golly. They must be an asshole. Certainly it's not me. See how she reacts. Yeah, nothing to lose. Can't do that for you, just so you know, only because you have mentioned it to me. Who is this? Lol, lol, lol. I wasn't propositioning you, don't worry. We are comrades. I don't bring this stuff into politics. Lol, lol, lol. I'm not doing that. Amazing. He's just such a slug. Anyway. He said he would talk about this idea to a roommate, see if she was interested in being a social media coach. My response to that information was to take my chance and finally make it clear that I will never be interested in engaging in acts of prostitution. For Caleb, to me, I believe that he was hoping I would do exactly what he had hoped. He was hoping that I would fuck him with a paddle right in his butt. That's what the bottom's like, paddles in their butts. He was talking about the idea to me often. He said he's just manipulating. Focused on politics. Still mentions sexual things like messaging me on April 22nd. 3 days later, he's getting ready to meet his dominatrix to get spanked. Like it would make his dominatrix fucking... Caleb's insistence that I go to Venezuela to condemn America came to a head on May 1st, 2019, where at 1 a.m. he sent me a message asking me why I and other SINA members don't have as much drive as him. He explained that he is so accomplished, has done so many risky political acts throughout his life, and now he has a comfortable job, which is why he couldn't go to Venezuela, but it was really disappointing that none of us would go to Venezuela. In my head, this was such a joke. He stated that he can't go to Venezuela because he currently has a comfortable job, and he wants to do us all to drop whatever we're doing and go there in such a tense political climate during May 2019. I told him that I had to wake up early in the morning for work and then he needs to leave me alone. BPZ, thanks for all. Caleb Maupin continues to write articles and travel the world and be a big communist revolutionary leader. And the whole world has done everything to block me from doing that. I sold my blood plasma. I got mistraded for years in WWP, and now I have a nice, comfortable job. I'm well known, comparatively speaking. I don't get it. Here, I'm practically begging people to do what I have fought my whole life. The door is wide open, and people don't want it. Why did I have to fight so hard to do what other people don't even care enough to do? My deepest apologies. I can't speak forever for others, and I've already explained I care about my personal safety. It's not an issue of apologizing. You did not do anything wrong. You just aren't like me. Wow, he's built different, dude. I didn't know anything was wrong. Okay, then. Where are people like me? God, he's fucking Caleb Maupin is such a hero, bro. What a hero, dude. Truly. If anyone knows Caleb, you know that he's extremely persistent, pushy, wants to isolate you, and he wants you to take huge risks with your employment / family / relationships to show your devotion and commitment to his group. And then he sends text message essays about why you're wrong and bad. 30 minutes after I told him to leave me alone and let me sleep, my phone started buzzing with his incoming text rapid fire. What ensued next was a 2-hour back-and-forth argument where he tried out every manipulation tactic to try to tell me why I'm wrong for not going to Venezuela and adding new argument components such as accusing me, well, spoilers. Caleb Maupin says, Venezuela is that you don't think you'll be able to call the U.S. Embassy. You never understood what Sina was about. And if you're scared of being, I don't know what Sina is about either. But it sounds like you're a douchebag anyway. And if you're scared of being put on a list, you really should stay the fuck away from me. It's pathetic after all the time and money I've contributed to Sina that this is what you chose to start your attack on me over. It was not an attack on you. You have lulled me into thinking you are someone I can whine to about my problems with. You gained my trust. You got me to open up to you. Wow. Daddy issues, dude. Well, you include me in your problems, which I don't support. So I was opening up. Complain to me about others. Anyway, continuing. So a 2-hour thing. Caleb Maupin's, let's just move on to the next part. Caleb Maupin's general abusive and exploitative behavior. Keaton Mansfield statement. On July 16th, 2021, when I was 18 years old, I left rural Illinois for NYC after a phone call from Caleb Maupin asking me to become a full-time canvasser for the Center for Political Innovation or the outreach organization called the John Brown Volunteers. I arrived in New York City that night at a hotel room in Jersey City with one bed where Joey, Yankee Tanky, had lived for several days before. Several days he lived there. Wow. Is that living somewhere? I feel like that's just being somewhere. Yeah, I've lived here for 3 days. Is that how people talk? Joey and I quickly got to know... Fascists are strange. Joey and I quickly got to know each other, both having to live in such small space and travel to Manhattan daily. In the coming months, Caleb and I would get to know each other on a very personal level. Caleb would mention wanting to leave his wife and how miserable it was back in Ohio. True, Ohio is pretty fucking miserable. Have you guys ever been to Ohio? It is decently miserable. Looking back, many, if not most, of the things Caleb expressed to me in private were designed to suddenly pit Joey and I against one another. I'm going to take a drink, chat. I'm going to take a drink for a second. What do you say? What do you say? What's a keek ring? Bestowing of the Akik ring? Bestowing of the Akik ring immediately before going to Texas. What the fuck kind of Nazbol stuff? That, bro, they got like fucking amulets and shit. The Nazbols got fucking like magic items, like the Freemasons, bro. I didn't know that. Hell yeah, good job, dude. After promising Joey and me, Joey and I, actually, we would both receive one, instead giving only one to me in NYC before I left for Texas. I mean, whatever. I don't know what the fuck that is. He's butthurt. You're butthurt about a thing. When Caleb, Lily, and I were in Nicaragua for the 2021 elections, Caleb would constantly complain about Lily's immaturity and stress how glad he was that his right-hand guy did not act like Lily. When I arrived in New York City I drove my Buick from Illinois. Why is this going off? Oh, I see. Very much unfamiliar with day life. It was information on Hannah's wedding that was being uploaded into my phone. Several months later, when Caleb wanted us to head south and connect with San Angelo Solidarity, a separate group allied with CPI, he became very angry with me when my car wouldn't start because it had sat idle from July until the end of November. Fortunately for Caleb, my mother was willing to co-sign on a dealer loan for the car, so they have financial things going on. Meches? Is that his wife? Around the time of New Year's 2022, Caleb sent me a screenshot of an argument he was having with his wife. In it, you can see him mention that he plans to make enough money off of CPI that he can quit his job at RT. He also says blatantly that he will live in a compound in the woods where he would live with the kids. That's not how adults act. That's why I'm moving up in the world, and you aren't. You still don't. You don't know. You don't have social skills. You are the one. I am asserting myself like an adult, and I might get my bonus. Dream. Eventually, I'm going to make enough money with CPI that I will quit RT, and then I will leave you also. I am going to set up a big compound in the woods where I will live with all the kids. And I studio broadcast show over the internet. You are crazy. Cray cray. Damn, Caleb Maupin getting roasted by the missus, bro. Damn, that's rough, dude. Oh, shit. Apparently they have kids. And then I will leave you also. What a fucking strange alien, like, argument to have with the wife. You are the one. I am asserting myself like an adult and might get my bonus. Dream. Eventually, I am going to make enough money with CPI that I will quit RT. And then I will leave you also. You are crazy. Cray cray. Fuck, man. Sheesh. After driving this car from New York to Texas, Texas, Chicago, Chicago to Kansas. Wow, this is... Okay, we need a copy editor for this person's writing. Okay, he owes you money or something. Cool. The Yankee Tankies statement. Third baseman, Joey Shantz. That's not what that means. Back in June... I'm trying to make my own fun, chat. Let me have this. Back in June 2021, when I was 27 years old, I went to the Saxton Lectures in Pennsylvania specifically to network with folks and to join the CPI. Fucking barf. Ugh. I was strongly inspired by the words of Caleb Maupin. Wow, Jesus Christ. Can you imagine being strongly inspired by Caleb Maupin to do anything other than walk off of the side of a bridge? And motivated to get out of the movement and into the masses. There I discovered Caleb was putting together an outreach team in NYC, and he invited anyone to talk to him who were interested in joining. I talked to Caleb, and he told me to come out to New York City, and he would have a place for me ready. I went to a lot of NYC stuff, a lot of casual, yeah, I totally lived in NYC for a bit. I heart NYC, bro. Went to NYC only just... This is what Joey... I don't know what Joey Shantz sounds like. I don't know what the Yankee Tanky sounds like. I know nothing about this douchebag. I'm assuming douchebag. But rightly complaining about Caleb Maupin. Still douchebag. This is the voice now. I went to NYC only to discover that he didn't have a place. And I would have to go to a hotel. Caleb told me he didn't want to pay for a hotel room just for me. At this point, I sold a majority of my possessions and used that money to pay for hotel rooms. After the end of the week, I was almost out of money, so I was forced to sell my car to pay for the hotel room in Jersey City. I used that money to pay for a room. At the end of the week, Keaton Mansfield came to Jersey City, which Caleb felt was worth paying for a hotel room for both of us. During our time in the motel room, I used my food stamps to pay for food for me and Keaton. I got about $250 a month to pay for our food. Later, another individual joined us, and my food stamps had to pay for that person as well. Caleb often told us that we had to struggle to achieve socialism. In hindsight, I see that it was Caleb's attempt to manipulate us into not asking him for a lot of money. I am diabetic and also have MRSA, which never goes away. So my bad diet connected to our limited budget... I feel bad this time. But my bad diet connected to our limited budget ultimately led to my sugar spiking, which fed the MRSA and caused a MRSA infection, which I had to go to the hospital for. The day I went to the hospital, no suffering, you gotta get socialism, so you have to have MRSA. The day I went to the hospital, the John Brown volunteers were at a political rally in Times Square. Caleb asked if I could come join my comrades at the rally as soon as I left the hospital, even though I really shouldn't have been resting and recovering from the infection. Caleb promised to take care of our food, housing, and any other material needs that we had. Alas, Caleb failed. You can see, alas, comma, Caleb. Now it just looks like a name.
Chef, not Master Bait.
Epsilon is greater than. Thank you for following. Alas, Caleb failed to provide even the most basic resources to help us survive, and instead, talking to him daily caused me to have ideation. We used our canvassing contributions to cover everything. However, canvassing is very slow and tedious work, and it never brought in enough income to sustain us all. I often had to dig through the garbage put out by grocery stores just so we could eat. My comrades would even live on less because, according to Caleb, this is what the revolutionaries had to do to survive. Hey, chat, when we start the revolution, I'm going to let y'all eat food. Hot take. When we start the revolution, in my cult, there's food. Okay? Speaking of food, chat, speaking of food, would you look at that? Would you look at that? Oh, a Hasselbeck potato. Great job. Great job, Atomic Crouton. Looks delightful. But would you look at that? I made chicken parm. Or not chicken parm. I made eggplant parm. Wow. You could find that and more at the official Discord. That's the kind of food you could eat, chat. It really was fucking good, though. Delightful. Totally the best. Just kibbles? You could have kibbles or wet food. I don't really care. You can have as much as you need, chat. I often had to dig through the garbage to eat. We would ignore these problems and even sometimes have fights with each other. Crabs in a bucket. Member 3 would often get in conflicts with me and Keaton about how Caleb should be helping us more, and we would defend Caleb in his treatment of us. We would say to Member 3 that we had to tolerate the mistreatment because it was good for the good of the organization cult. Eventually, Member 3 gave up on arguing against our mistreatment and began working as an escort to help us cover our expenses. I was still using my food stamps to keep us fed, but their additional income took care of everything else that our feeble canvassing earnings couldn't cover. So this is just another perspective of that other stuff. Nuggies! Does your cult also come with DDLG spankings? Ooh-woo? Only for lucky ones. Later, when we went to Texas, I came up with the idea of the branch of the CPI I called Bridges to Labor, with the goal of building socialist reading groups within workplaces. These sound so fucking lame. Joining a socialist book club at your workplace doesn't sound based. It sounds fucking cringe. Like, what the fuck? Bro, I'm a lefty. I'm a staunch lefty. Surprise, chat. What? Jake's a lefty? Fuck. I didn't know. Yep, you've been indoctrinated. I tricked you. But starting a fucking book group at the workplace? Hell no. It'd be like, hey, bro, I read this really good book. What is this? I read this really good book. It's called The Wretched of the Earth. You should check it out. I recommend it strongly, even though I haven't cracked the cover. See? Now, people think I'm smart and well-read, but really the book just sits there, and you read it. I don't. No, I plan on reading it. I just haven't yet. Upon Caleb learning of the project, he would have private conversations with Keaton Mansfield, telling him I was just trying to steal his spotlight. Wow. After an argument with Keaton that got me kicked out of the John Brown Volunteers, Caleb offered to pay for a ticket back home to Pennsylvania. He never offered to pay me back for my possessions I sold for the organization, including my car. He never offered to provide any type of housing until I could get myself on my feet. He simply abandoned me with $200, either to be homeless in Texas or go back to Pennsylvania. I tried to live out in Texas and soon realized I couldn't make enough money to get out of the hotel I was staying at, and I would soon be homeless, so I was forced to head back to Pennsylvania. I ultimately, since getting kicked out of the organization, have been living in an abandoned house to survive, forced into e-begging on the internet to sustain myself while in between jobs. This has affected my public image and thus has affected my ability to make content and organize in the future. Mixed emotions here. Mixed emotions. Love Nazbol's reaping and sowing. Don't like the system forcing someone to have financial success not to be poor. I'm going to go with not based. It's not based that this person's homeless. DL's statement. I first formally met Caleb Maupin in Philadelphia in July of 2016 during the Democratic National Convention. I was protesting and running events. What can we time? I was 18 years old when I enrolled in college, blah, blah, blah. Is there, why don't we do this real quick? Why don't we go through, and this is the time when really do we need any other hot spots here? Just the you know, so we're essentially at the end, but you get it. You get it. And then the rest of this is like internal stuff. Not his public image. In conclusion, chat, it is okay if you want your daddy to spank you. It is not okay to trick people into collaborating in your kink. Huh? Not cool. Also not cool to trick people into coming out to like work for you for a fake job or something, or like a job that's not really a job. Like, just a terrible fucking guy. I am not surprised at all. Again, you knew it when you looked at him. This guy is just absolutely ridiculous. It's still sexual harassment even if you're a bottom. Bottoms can absolutely... Hey, look, subs, you are capable of being the abusers. This is a thing. It's okay to want to spank. Yes, it's okay to want to spank or to be spanked, chat. Look, I know you didn't get comprehensive sexual education because you were probably an American. Okay? And if that's the case, Papa's got some information for you. Whatever you like is valid and fine. All you got to do is, if necessary, find other people that also enjoy that thing. And then act upon your consent like adults. That's it. It's the whole thing. There's no rules.